Hi, we will be covering problem A that appeared in CodeCraft 2022, which is called beat the odds. We have been given a sequence of n integers and we have to create a new sequence from this initial sequence such that in the new sequence the sum of every two consecutive elements is even. That is, the sum of these two elements is even, the sum of these two elements is even, the sum of these two elements is even, and so on. And while converting from the initial sequence to the new sequence, we are allowed to remove some numbers in the sequence, and we actually have to output the minimum number of elements that we can remove to obtain the new sequence, which satisfies this property. So let's look at the new sequence in more detail. Suppose that this is the array which contains our new sequence. We know that in our new sequence that we obtain, the sum of every two consecutive elements is even. Now, when is the sum of two numbers even? We know that the sum of two numbers is even when the two numbers are both odd, or when both the numbers are even, right? So in this case, let's assume that the first number is actually odd. So when the first number is odd and the sum of the first two elements is even, which means that the second number has to be odd. But now if you look at these two terms, the sum of these two numbers should also be even, but we know that this is odd, so this also has to be odd. Similarly, we can find out that every single element in this array has to be odd. That is in our new sequence. In second case, we can say that the first element of our new sequence is even. Again, by the same argument of having the sum as even, we can say that this number is even, and then the sum of these two elements have to be even, so this number is even, and so on. So the entire array is even, which tells us that in the new sequence either all elements have to be odd or all elements are even. Now our initial sequence will naturally consist of both odd and even elements, and from this we need to create our new sequence. So our new sequence will consist of either only odd elements and or all even elements, right? So we need to convert our initial sequence to a new sequence by removing the minimum possible numbers, right? Minimum possible removal. So whenever we're removing some numbers from here, either we need in the final sequence all even, so we will have to remove the odd numbers, or we'll have to remove the even numbers. We can actually remove all the odd numbers and even some more even numbers if we want to, since if we remove all the odd numbers plus some even numbers, then the remaining numbers will be even. But we actually could not have removed these numbers and still obtained the property that we desire. So we will follow this approach since we want to remove the minimum number of numbers possible. So simply we will remove either all odd numbers, all or even numbers. And since we want the minimum answer, we will say that the answer is the minimum of these two. That is the minimum of count of odd numbers and the minimum of count of even numbers. That's it.